go ahead and get started because we have a lot that we want to talk about here today. With us, we're talking about nearshore IT outsourcing with a focus on Puerto Rico, because we have somebody from Puerto Rico that I just saw like an hour ago. We have Alberto Lugo in the house, and and I was mentioning this earlier. He always has the best pictures for headshots. I still got my Richie Cunningham look without my COVID-19 beard happening for me. I'm the GovBrief host. I'm Dave Lowe. We have Alberto Lugo, and he is from Puerto Rico, right?
That's right.
That's right. Born and raised in Puerto Rico. So the agenda today is a little bit different than our regular interagency briefings or our industry briefings. We will be talking about INVID and what makes you guys good, your services and industries. And then we're going to be talking about nearshore sourcing and outsourcing, and why consider Puerto Rico, and then some additional resources if you'd like to engage a little bit further. And with this, I'm going to put out our regular disclaimer because we've done this for a while now. This event is not affiliated or endorsed by GSA or any other agency, and is provided to the audience for informational purposes only. All participation in this briefing is voluntary. That means you decided to come, and engagement is also voluntary. But with government personnel, this is important. It's not an indication or endorsement of a commitment to purchase from any vendor. That is what enables us to dialogue directly. And if you have been living under a rock for the past 4 months and you haven't been on any kind of virtual briefing, here's the way this works. You can grab that little bar. It could be at the top, could be at the side, could be at the bottom. You grab that bar and you can make us larger. You can make us disappear even more. You can open that panel on the right-hand side. You can chat questions to us. You can also download INVID's capability statement while you're there. Also, you can enter your audio pin. If you called in on the phone, very important, and you want to dialogue, you have to enter that number with the pound, whatever that number is up there. And if you would like to communicate with us throughout this or take something offline, you can go to govsupport@invidgroup.com, and we will be able to answer your questions. And we will also be doing a couple of polls, 3 polls today, I think. Why are you guys here today? Are you here because you want to learn more about near sourcing? That's a new it was a new term to me until Alberto brought it up. I have issues with outsourcing, and you can choose as many as you want, or you have an IT project that needs support, or my boss made me come. So there could have a couple of those folks, but certainly let us know why you guys decided to join us, and we will be hitting it right out of the gate and talking about you in just a minute there, Alberto.
Yep, no worries. The survey, it's pain-free. So
pain-free, yeah, no pains, no pain. Oh, give another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and boom. Look at this. 100%, baby. Want to know about near sourcing, and a couple of folks have need for an IT project that needs support, which is going to be good for you, Alberto, because that helps you understand what's happening. So we know that you're a propeller head because you're a software engineer for the past 20 years working with SharePoint. That's a long time. But give us a little background on you. You said you're born and raised in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I study software engineer because I was proficient with programming or coding when I was in high school. I was fortunate enough to be able to take one course in high school that it was programming, and I fell in love with computers, and that's why I dedicated myself to studying computer engineering. I finished my degree, started the business, and I've been doing software, and the company does software, among other things, for the past 17 years.
That is awesome, fantastic. And you love the kite surf, and we just happen to have.
I mean, being from the Caribbean, you need to be able to do aquatic sports. You know, there's a lot of water all around us. So
that's a fact. That's a fact. We'll be talking a little bit about the benefits of Puerto Rico, not the least of which, if you would like to kite surf, I'm sure that Alberto can hook you up on ability to experience that. But let's
That
talk about INVID. You guys are growing like gangbusters. You're really successful, starting to really grow now. So tell us what you guys got cooking down there in Puerto Rico.
So as I told you, the business is we've been in business for around 17 years, and here's a few statistics about our repeat clients. We just want to show that we are acquiring new clients at a rapid rate, and we are repeating clients, so we stay working with them as partners for years. And our workforce is also growing. This statistic was from last year to the year before, but now we've been at about 40% growth in terms of new employees, and we keep at it. And the reason being we started doing the nearshore outsourcing marketing efforts was because we got struck by Hurricane Maria in 2017, and most of our clients were on the island. So we had nothing to do for about 2 to 3 months until everything got back to normal, and we decided to go to market and really start paying attention to the software trends and how could we help clients in other parts of the world.
And that's absolutely right. And I love this because being the absolute leader in software services and exporter in Puerto Rico, love that.
Yeah, that's the
Absolute.
truth. We changed that after the hurricane as well. We want to be recognized as the leader in exporter of software services on the island.
Love it, love it, love it. And you guys got quite a team that you got cooking there. There's a few folks that you have. We were
Yeah,
just talking a few. Yeah, go
great
ahead.
headshots for everybody on the team. We did that a couple of months ago, and we have the people in place for sales, HR, marketing, and accounting, and all that. So it's a good team of professionals that are helping us navigate through change and growing the business.
That's fantastic. And you do a lot of different things in the IT space, which is fantastic. But you do specialize in a few areas. We just did one on SharePoint not too
That's
long,
correct.
just earlier. We did an earlier briefing, interagency briefing, talking about SharePoint integration. So go ahead and tell us what you
Yeah,
guys do.
there's a lot of areas of expertise that you can develop on the IT industry, but we focus on software development and process automation. And that way we can leverage what we know and really help clients navigate through change, automate processes, simplify processes. And that's why we couple every service into these 5 buckets. We do enterprise software or legacy software modernization. We do mobile applications and web portals. And we also do intranets, and we're now getting into a little bit of BI with robotic process automation and cognitive services and whatnot. But everything it's in the software industry.
And you got a lot of different places you play, a lot of government. You're doing a lot more work with the government now.
Yeah, I would say that being from a small island, you gotta specialize in different industries because there's not a bunch of clients in any one of them in particular. So that's why we have a mix of healthcare, public services, financial services, communications, and education. I would say 90% of our business come from these 5 industries.
That's fantastic. And you guys are doing great. You meant a lot of things dealing with the government, meeting socioeconomic certifications and things like that. You're getting your hub zone, which is fantastic, but you got your GSA contract. You're also 8A. For those of you that aren't aware what 8A is, because we have some folks here from industry as well, that is a program that enables sole source awards, as well as competed with just in the 8A framework.
Correct.
There's a lot of benefits to that. And if you're looking for a partner in 8A, that I'd like to point you towards.
I want to point out that if there are any industry clients that are looking at this webinar, selecting Puerto Rico as your provider will get you double points where you're trying to meet those socioeconomic thresholds within the federal government. So that's another plus that you can add to the mix.
That's great. And I just learned that just a few minutes ago. And you guys, like we said, you're growing. You hit the Inc. 5000, which is super.
We hit it this year, finally. We got to hit the list for the first time. We're eager to be back there next year. I think we are doing the numbers, so I guess we will be there next year as well. We got selected by the SBA in January as the service provider of the year for 2020. and that's going to go out in the Small Business Week, which is delayed because of the COVID, but they gave us the letter and they told us that they were announcing the Small Business Week gets traction on the news channels. We've been a Microsoft Partner of the Year. We have won that award a few times in our past, and we've been a partner since 2012. Excuse me, we also won the Partner of the Year for Latin America in 2012.
That's
So
fantastic.
a few accolades for trying to establish the point as INVID as a provider. And well, there's a lot of ways on how to do outsourcing, and we always like to present this slide because it's the Scrum methodology, which is agile, and it's a rapid way of creating software or any kind of product that you are developing. And we use this as a guideline when we're talking to prospects and new clients in mainland, but we can adapt to any kind of methodology. But if the client don't have a methodology that they are bringing to the table, we can definitely use this one, which is it's a proven methodology for rapid development.
Yep, I agree.
In terms of technology, I don't want to go too deep because I don't know about the people that are coming to the webinar, but there's a few logos of the web applications, web servers, and the technologies that we use to create software. Again, these are just the most that we are representing here, the ones that we use the most, but doesn't mean that we haven't worked with other technologies. This is just our bread and butter in terms of web applications, databases, mobile technologies. And if you go to the next one, you can see designing tools, what we use to store things on the cloud, and development tools. We use a lot of Visual Studio for that. Again, more tools that we use to do the job in the project management space and testing. You were going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, one of the biggest things that I think you do very well is bringing products to the market and making sure that they're tested well. And the agile methodology helps with that. Agile is to push it out there fast. However, it's going back through the process and making sure that getting the core functionality out, but also upgrading and testing and making sure that the system's solid.
Correct.
Very important. So I want to ask a question about where people are with the outsourcing world, right? So if you talk about outsourcing, you've never outsourced, you've never outsourced, I've never outsourced, or you've outsourced to US based companies, that's in the continental United States or Alaska and Hawaii, right? That's actually one of the 50 states. Or have you outsourced to Puerto Rico based companies or outsourced to Europe or Asia based companies? Because there's some things that we're going to be talking about today for benefits that many folks do not have any idea exist by doing nearshore outsourcing. So with that, we're going to keep this rolling. So if you guys can answer that question within the next 5 seconds, that would be super. 4, 3, and you mentioned two for painlessness. 3, 2, 1, and anybody sneaking in under the wire? 2, 1, 1/2, 1. That's it. That's it. So here we go. This is what we got. 50% have never outsourced at all, Alberto. That's amazing. And then 17% for US based, 0% to Puerto Rico, which is that's why
we are here.
That's why we're talking about this, because folks just did not even know that was the case. So let's talk about outsourcing as a whole concept, right? So onshore means here in the States, right?
For example, you're in New York and you're buying from a company in Virginia or something similar. You're outsourcing your services on the mainland, inside of the US.
And then nearshore incorporates everybody that's kind of close by. You guys are close by. They can even consider Latin America close by, which is sometimes it's close and other times it's not.
That's correct. We are in the middle of the Caribbean, so we are in a strategic point between Latin America and the United States. So when you talk about nearshore outsourcing, we're talking about having some benefits in terms of pricing, which is one of the biggest benefits that people look for when they are outsourcing. But at the same time, we can be in your office in 2 or 3 hours if we want to meet in person in the East Coast of the United States, because most of the flights we have direct flights to the United States. So that's nearshore. It's benefits of outsourcing, but close by as if you were onshore.
And then offshore being Asia, India,
Yeah,
Europe.
that's where you get the whole rest of the world when you are outsourcing, but you have more than 5 or 6 hours of time difference when you are contacting these folks, and it's not close by. That would be the definition for offshore outsourcing.
Right. And sometimes there's benefits to that. If it just with the time changes, there can be benefits and also challenges for that. So now we're going to be talking about why Puerto Rico. And this is what I love best because you guys live there. Now, let's just start with the obvious of why you should be in Puerto Rico. And that is it's a freaking gorgeous place to be.
It's a
Now,
tropical paradise, and we have 90 degrees all year long.
So for all the rest of us that are not in Puerto Rico right now, we are extremely jealous, and we probably want to do some painful things to you right this minute, Alberto, because when you see pictures like this, and it's not that it's bad here. I'm in Maryland, so for full disclosure, I'm in Maryland, and there's nice places in Maryland, but there ain't nothing that looks like like what we're looking at right now. So why Puerto Rico? You have to be well. We'll talk about your mental capacity if you do not like being in a place that looks like that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's just talk about business. If we get back on business, why Puerto Rico? And let's go through these because you know these firsthand in being able to see what kind of workforce you have there and what kind of folks you got. So tell us about the workforce.
So, for example, one of the biggest benefits of hiring Puerto Rico is that we have a very highly qualified workforce. For example, the normal engineering degree in Puerto Rico takes 5 years instead of 4 because you're getting more concentration classes and more technical classes. So it's no surprise that companies like Lockheed Martin and Accenture come to the job fairs in Puerto Rico to source talent right out of college. So we are on those specific programs where we get sourcing from the college campuses and universities, and we have to compete with the big guys in the US because they know that we produce good talent. So it's world-class engineers, large integrators come for talent, as I was saying, and we have large college campuses and a lot of people studying engineering.
That's fantastic. And obviously, everybody's looking to be as competitive as they possibly can, especially in the government market. So
Yeah,
it is,
so when you have to create your software and you're looking for getting a better cost benefit, or you're looking for a discount and you don't want to go to Asia or other parts of the world because of the time difference and all that, you can count on Puerto Rico. It's not going to be as cheap or as cost effective as doing the work in Asia, but it's going to be less costly than doing it in the mainland. At the same time, we have had clients or prospects that are coming to us because of their first slide, because they can source talent, because everybody has a job in IT, right? Everybody's working, and it's not easy to get these people on specific technologies. And at the same time, you can get a discount if you contract with a place like Puerto Rico.
yep. And the lower cost of living, the fact that there's no federal taxes, that ought to.
No federal taxes, and we also have we are part of Act 20, where we pay less taxes for exports, and United States counts as exports. So when we are doing work in the U.S., we are getting a special tax bracket, and we share that benefit with our clients.
Absolutely. And we already looked at the picture, but location, location, location. And this is
In
not just the real estate side of the equation. The fact that you are on an Eastern time zone, right? And there's a couple of times when, depending on it, you could be a little bit earlier, right, than us.
Yes, we don't do daylight savings, so there's a few months of the year that we are 1 hour ahead, but the rest of the year we have the same time zone as you guys in the East Coast, and then it's not that different of a time zone when we're working with Mid-Atlantic or the West Coast.
Yeah,
At the same time, we have mostly direct flights to Florida, Atlanta, Washington, Boston, Chicago, New York, direct flights a few times a day. So as I was saying in the first slide, we can meet through Zoom or through any platform, but if you need to meet with us at a specific time, we can be there in a few hours.
that's fantastic. And you mentioned this already too, and that is Puerto Rico is USA, and anything that you do
Yeah,
counts, and it falls under the same jurisdictions. And we'll talk about that because that's one of my favorite things about the
yeah,
jurisdictions and the importance of that. But let's talk about made in the USA. You do understand the US cultural dynamic, and anybody that's outsourced to any place outside of the United States, and it can be any place. It can be India, it can be Asia.
Europe,
You know that there's a cultural difference
correct,
and just nuances that just cannot be grasped, right?
correct.
And that creates a problem. And abiding by the same regulations, really, really important. And we'll dive into that as why that is. And here's
Yeah,
another reason: native Hispanic and U.S. language is very important. Anybody that's done outsourcing, again, knows about the language disparities. But the fact that you can also incorporate your where you are in Puerto Rico with where with dealing with the expanding Hispanic
correct. Yeah,
folks.
we're as I was saying, we're in the Caribbean, so we're in the middle of the sandwich. We understand a lot of the cultural things that the United States have, and as well as the Latin America, and also we speak the language. So we are most of the people that work in the technology industry are very proficient in English. So that's another benefit of being able to speak your language and being able to communicate freely. And as I was saying, most of the people in Puerto Rico that work in the IT industry, they speak fluent English and they write fluent English. So that's one of the reasons that we talk about that. Also, the Made in the US stamp, it's very important because as we were asking people in this webinar, nobody's outsourcing to Puerto Rico. And most people don't know that we are part of the US. We hold a US passport, so we can move freely without visas around the US. And most importantly, your product is going to be manufactured or the software is going to be made in the USA. It's part of the benefits of working with Puerto Rico.
And that, from the government standpoint, big deal.
Correct.
Big deal. Right?
And you have one more. Go back one second, please. You have also that we abide by the same federal regulation, and that's a big deal. If you want to protect your software, if you want to have any kind of contracts, you can defend those contracts in the court of law, which is U.S.
And we're gonna talk about that in just a minute, especially when it comes to intellectual property. Very, very important. Some of the tax incentives, 4%
Yes,
tax corporate tax rate, and a young professional tax bracket. That's just some of the bennies for being there in Puerto Rico. However,
correct,
that does translate to lower costs, which then translates in being able to be more competitive in
correct,
comparison to offshoring.
correct. We give an aggressive pricing because we have those benefits, and we share that special corporate tax rate when we outsource with our client. We share that benefit.
Yep. And one issue that folks may not even know is that you're on the U.S. banking system, so it's the same. It's dollars and dollars. You're not doing translations.
Same
And
federal regulations. Fair regulatory agencies are the ones that regulate the banks in Puerto Rico.
yep. And the reason why we're making this point, and this is again is my favorite, protections under federal law, under the law of the United States. Very, very important. Anybody that's done any outsourcing knows that if something goes sideways, and I can
Correct.
attest to this personally, if something goes sideways, the ability to incorporate where does it fall? If you're outsourcing to somebody outside of the United States,
Correct.
anywhere outside of the United States, it becomes an international issue, an international law. So in this instance, everything is underneath of
Yeah,
US.
you have less exposure to risk when you're trying to defend your IP. You can hire us as a work for hire, which is very important for most companies in the US, where you can retain your IP, your intellectual property, and that's enforceable. So that's one of the biggest advantages of, or that's one of the reasons that we get leads, because people are looking for the benefits and they are looking to enforce their IP protection and the code that we're going to do for them.
And if something goes sideways, you are mandated under US law,
Mm-hmm.
depending on where the contract's executed, but usually if the
Correct.
contract's executed in the continental United States, you have to travel to the United States.
Correct, and it's enforceable. Again, since the banking industry, it's regulated as well. All those issues disappear because you can have the peace of mind that the data that we are working with, it's inside of the US. If you're going to share with us data, real-time data, and you can have that peace of mind that all the laws are enforceable, even so in Puerto Rico.
Yep. And we will get to your questions. Tommy, Charles, we'll get to yours in a few minutes. I promise we will get there and we'll engage you as well. I see your hand up as well. Fantastic. We got questions. And we're almost there. So one of the other pieces, socioeconomic certifications, and I think this applies to one of the questions as well. So let me open that up one more time and I'll see if that does. But tell us about you. We know that you're 8A and Hub Zone. You can
Correct.
also, and outside of you're not veteran service disabled, but it still applies if there are veteran owned, and not just IT, it can be anybody. If you want to outsource to Puerto Rico, we're talking about
Correct.
IT at the moment, but there's
Correct.
other outsource capabilities with Puerto Rico, not just that, language services, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Facilities management, administrative services. There's a bunch of things that you can nearshore IT outsource to Puerto Rico.
right. Now here it is. Does a prime get double points for using PR firm, or is it only for government clients? Great question, Tommy.
That's a great question. We can send you the expert from the law that we are referencing, so you can read at it. I think it's for government agencies, but I never thought of prime contractors using that benefit. I have to double check for you, and I'll send the link to the specific law that says that.
Yep. And I will get
That's
to
a
the
great
rest of
question.
those in just a minute, Tommy, but I thought that was pertinent. So why Puerto Rico? Well, if you didn't get a picture the first time,
We
there's a
can
great
meet
question.
in Puerto Rico in your winter time, and that's going to be great for you guys.
So there you go.
Or
So
we can travel to your office, or we can do a Zoom.
for obvious reasons, why Puerto Rico? You mentioned it. Workforce, lower cost. Location is East Coast for most of the time. Made in the U.S. label. Attractive tax incentives, which gets passed on to you as a prime or in the government for that matter. Currency is the same. Protections under federal law and SBA certifications apply where they do not apply if it's outsourced.
I think this is a strong case for Puerto Rico as an alternative. It's not for every project. Maybe you are looking for only pricing and you're not looking at the other benefits. But if you're looking for two or more, you might take a look at Puerto Rico based companies for your software needs.
Certainly. And here's one of my favorite questions. I would like more information about outsourcing to Puerto Rico for IT programming integration needs, other IT product service needs, other non-IT needs, or so I'm forced to visit my contracting partner in Puerto Rico. I could not resist. I mean, to me, the fact that that you have the capacity to do what you do, and guess what? It is a tax write-off to go visit your partner, your contracting partner in Puerto Rico. Now, if you happen to do some kite surfing while you're there,
At least you can try it.
yep, you can try it, and or there's definitely places for a hammock. So there you go. So there's when I was looking at the pictures that they were pulling up for this, I was like, hey, find one with a hammock. So that's it. And we will get to your questions momentarily. Give you another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It is absolutely painless, as you mentioned. Nobody sneaking in under the radar. Okay, we'll go there. So here you go. So 67% would like more information on outsourcing for IT stuff, and then 33% for others. So we will make sure that you get those things. And I'm sure you have a couple of friends in Puerto Rico that would be beneficial to connect with. All right,
Correct.
Tommy Osborne has a couple questions here. Hold on one sec. I want to make sure we get this right. I'll open up the questions. Do you have security clearances? Great question, Tommy.
That's a great question. I myself, I have a top secret security clearance. We are just waiting on the right specific project that requires facilities clearance so we can clear the office. But at the moment, I do hold my top secret clearance as a person.
And Tommy,
And
I'm
we are capable of doing that from Puerto Rico. That's one great question.
gonna unmute you, Tommy. You there? Can I unmute you? I tried to. I'm going to send an unmute request to you if you would like to. What the heck? Unmute you. Come on, you can do it. I don't know. Maybe you can't talk. But
I am unmuted. Can you hear
there,
me?
Tommy?
Yes.
Hey,
Yep.
Tommy, how you doing?
I am fantastic. How about you?
Well, couldn't be any better. Could not be better. Unless I was sitting in Puerto Rico, like this son of a gun we're talking to. So, what's your company, Tommy?
Madden Tech Consulting Inc.
Super. And what do you guys do?
IT, science, engineering, R&D, construction, environmental services.
There you
Wow.
go. You do a bunch of that stuff. Fantastic. So did we answer those questions right? We're going to find out about that question about whether it translates to the prime. I think that would be beneficial to distribute to everybody.
Yes.
You answered the questions well. The other was, if you outsource to Puerto Rico, what are the tax implications for the prime?
Gotcha. I think that that's a great question.
Yeah,
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I believe you have the same tax implications. What we offer is that we as a contractor, we don't pay federal taxes if we do it from Puerto Rico, and we get a special tax bracket in Puerto Rico. So we pass that benefit in terms of pricing to the client in the US.
Okay.
That makes sense? You got anything else, Tommy?
No, sir.
All right. Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. And then Charles says, I'm a PR resident under Act 2022. We know about that act.
Yep.
And will be requesting a quote for a software project from your company in the near future. I can't believe that. You don't want anything to do with that. I know you don't want anything to do with it. Anyhow, if you're not doing so currently, I suggest advertising to the various Act 2022 societies and groups. Great. That's a great.
I mean, that's a great feedback. I'm part of that group in Facebook, so I will definitely advertise there if they allow me.
A very good idea. Charles, great insight, great feedback, and we do appreciate you being here for that. And with that in mind, I'd like to talk about a little bit about the procurement and teaming with INVID. As with any organization, depending on whether you're just buying from you and benefiting from the pricing structure that you guys offer, that's one thing. That's more like a sub to prime. You can certainly do that, but there's also teaming where you can do joint ventures, and then you can gain the benefits of your 8A, your GSA schedule, and as you get there with HubZone and your partnership potential with other service-disabled folks.
You're totally right. If you're in need of workforce and you think that we might be the right partner, let's chat.
Yep. And those of you that know a little bit about the federal world, for those of you that are coming just for the outsourcing, we got folks here from the government. That's great. You can access INVID's information. Everybody knows what the Duns in the Cage code means in the federal space. And you guys have great CPARs and past performance, right?
Correct.
Yep. For those of you who don't know what that is, that means past performance in the federal government directly. They do direct contracting with the federal government, and CPARs is the reporting mechanism that says whether or not Alberto actually knows to do anything better than kite surfing in the middle of the Caribbean. So there you have it. Well, is there any other questions before we jump? If there isn't, we appreciate you guys being here. We know it's a really busy time of year, and that's why we did this. We know that you guys are going to have to be outsourcing your resources potentially and looking for partners in order to be able to complete projects that are going to be done, because September 30th is the end of the fiscal year. Shocking for all those people in the government here, I'm sure. So, but we do appreciate your insight, Alberto, and we appreciate the feedback from everybody else. Direct information, you can reach out to Alberto right here, alugo@invidgroup.com. And he has a local number here in 703 because he has an office here, right?
Crystal City.
Yeah, in Crystal City. Great place, great place. Not as great as sitting on your beaches. But we do appreciate you being here.
Yes. Thank you for having me, Dave.
Yeah, you bet. And everybody, yes, you will get a copy of the presentation, and you'll get a copy of INVID's capability statement, as well as a link to the recording so you can watch this over and over for your entertainment pleasure. So, awesome. Great seeing you again, Alberto. Always great as usual. Love your insight and everything and your business acumen. And congratulations on your expansion and how successful you guys are and helping Puerto Rico in general. As I think this is really great insight.
It is. Thank you for having me.
You betcha. We'll see you next time, guys.